Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. I do appreciate you all doing so. Please do not forget to hit that like button on your way in as we begin and throughout the live tonight. Can you all hear me good tonight? Of course, we're going to start with saying hello to everybody and seeing who's here. Teresa Nelson, thank you very much. Fine Summer's Truth, thank you for coming out. Lisa Kletchner, thank you. Or excuse me, Kleckner. I keep saying Kletchner. I apologize. Um, Carrie Lawson, thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you doing so. Kathy K, hi, how are you doing? And I saw Miss Justice as well here. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you both. Cosplay will be along later. She has practice with her uh, uh, practice tonight to attend to. So she already checked in with me earlier. Brittany Blue Eyes, thank you very much. Country Girl, thank you. Nature Lover, thank you very much for coming out. Kate Yu, thank you. Appreciate you doing so. So, I put three things on the agenda tonight. I'm going to add one. For as much as attention as we have been given to Summer Wells, and I'm very much will pay attention. I pay attention to missing kids stories and the details of what happened, and not so much the COD, but the story of why they went missing and who the person was and who the parents are that was all involved. We can't forget that in 2 days that Michael Monkey Vaughn went missing. He had just turned 5 years old. He would have just turned 7 years old yesterday. He went missing July 27th, 2021. About 6 weeks after Summer Wells had her story had ravished the nation, had went like wildfire through the nation, that a 5-year-old girl had gone missing. And it looks suspicious. TCC Dumpling, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate you doing so. As well as Huntress, I see you as well. Kimmy's Lounge, thank you also for coming out. I do appreciate you coming out and listening. Michael Vaughn you'll have to forgive me, was from Fruitland, Idaho, in a neighborhood that was both mixed as residential and not far from farming fields. At the time he had gone missing, it wasn't a huge story on YouTube. Most people were talking about a Summer Wells and realizing how big and how much of a story that was all encompassing Summer Wells, whether it be the actions of the family, the statements the family would make, the statements, the unprecedented search. Hello, little Dev. I believe I missed somebody else. Victoria, thank you very much for coming out. Victoria Burgess, I believe her name is. Um, Thank you very much for coming out, everybody. I do appreciate it. Hello, Jazzy Jewel and Janice Newman. Thank you very much. Marlene Clausen, thank you for coming out. I do see you all, and I appreciate you all coming out. Don't forget to hit that like button. We are going to be a little bit all over the place again tonight, but it'll all make sense at the end. Tutti Frutti, thank you very much for coming out. I've actually commented a lot on Michael Vaughn, but never on this channel. My covering Michael Vaughn actually goes back to how I got introduced to John Q, for those who don't know. It was that I had found a news article when I was co-hosting, I guess you could say, on somebody else's channel, that the channel doesn't exist anymore, and the woman doesn't follow true crime. I had found an article that was saying that his reward fund for tips and everything was about to expire. And thankfully, it caught the attention of other creators as well. Lorray, you're not late. Don't worry about it. It had caught the attention of other creators as well. And back when that article was in the newspaper news, and it started a wildfire on YouTube because larger creators, because like I said, I was not on my channel, it was on somebody else's channel. Other creators started hearing this and started paying attention that the reward fund for tips was about to expire. And we spent the whole entire day when that article was found going through, talking with a couple of the creators on their channels about him missing. If I remember correctly, you have to forgive me, it's been quite a while. It's been quite a while, but I said they've got to look at two areas. I said they had to focus on two areas. One was a park, just a wide open field. Not even like an actual park. It's just a wide open field. I said that would be a great place to lure a boy to kick throw a football around or kick a soccer ball, throw a baseball around and lure him that way. Mr. John Q, how are you? I was just speaking of you. And I said also the other direction was the my concern was the splash pad. I said these are two areas that are way too easy for something to happen. Now, granted, charges have been dropped against the woman, the neighbor from the park that I said that would be so easy to lure a child to by saying, let's go kick a ball around or throw a baseball around or anything along those lines. Charges have been dropped against her. But it still astounds me that she was literally across the road from this park. It was on Miss Q's channel that we had talked about that because John Q, as I had found out at the time, loves maps, loves to explore maps, loves to sit there and look at those details that I was pointing out. Denelin 2, the legendary, thank you very much for coming out. Renegade Uncensored, thank you very much for coming out. Appreciate you doing so. If I missed your name, do not fear that I do not appreciate you being here, as well as anybody that catches me on a replay crew. I would appreciate you. I appreciate you doing so as well. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Wasn't prepared to do a big, huge thing on Monkey tonight with Monkey tonight because it had just dawned on me that his birthday had just passed and his date he went missing is coming up. I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. For as much as we focus on Summer Wells, the 2-year mark for him is fast approaching. The champion that his mom, and forgive me, I know you all know her name, but it's just drawing a mental blank in my mind right now. The champion of that his mom turned out to be, to make the tragedy of what happened with Michael, even though she says, and I believe wholeheartedly, that they will bring Monkey home. Yes, Brandy, thank you. Yes. Nana for life. Thank you very much, Katie. You, Carrie, Brittany. Thank you very, very much. Bailey, thank you very much for coming out. Yes, it's Brandy. The champion that she had caused, or she had the cause she had championed. Let me switch that around. To take on the state legislator and make a change for somebody in the future, some family in the future that may find themselves in a similar situation. She made a difference out of tragedy. In situations like that, in Summer Wells, in any other case where a kid goes missing, we need more parents like what Brandy did to champion a cause, to champion a better solution, to champion a way that it can be fixed, that it's impossible or nearly impossible for that to happen again because a situation or a system is in place that is advancing to the positive, so it makes it impossible. And that's why I believe that Brandy had actually truly done. Huntress, you don't have to tell me you're going to be right back. Yeah, I know you got kids and got stuff you got to take care of. That's fine. Like I said, it's not a huge to do about Michael Vaughn, but keep in your mind that he deserves justice. Chloe J just said it, justice for Monkey. He deserves justice, and this is a 2-year mark coming up in just a couple days. So please, everybody, I'm encourage everybody to keep him in your thoughts and prayers because his family deserves to have answers. Like I said, we're going to be a little bit all over tonight. It's all going to come back around. I don't know how it's going to come back around, but I know it is. And we're going to talk about next. I'm going to jump into the Carly Russell again. I made had a little bit of our to do about her a few nights ago. And John Q was talking about her just the other night, yesterday actually. A couple other creators, Ziggy, I know, was also doing so. I believe Dumplin, you did a live on the press conference as well that happened yesterday, where the letter from the lawyer saying that she had admitted to being a hoax. The kidnapping was a hoax. And now that the truth is finally coming out, and yes, I do mean the truth is finally coming out, we're finding out now, today, since the lawyer has, a lawyer and Carly has turned herself in. And yes, I'm using that on purpose because that was the wording that Carly Russell had used on her Facebook post on social media, that she was going to turn herself in today. The lawyer, Mr. Anthony, can't find his last name anywhere, but I know it's Mr. Anthony. I don't know if that is his last name. Is saying now that they've met with the Hoover, Alabama Police Department, and he is expecting charges to be brought against Carly. The other Sharon, thank you very much for coming out tonight. I appreciate you doing so. Thank you, Mr. John. John Q, thank you very much. It's Emery Anthony Jr. Thank you very much. The other Sharon, I don't believe that Carly had mental health issues. She may have been in a situation or circumstances that she was emotionally drawn out, spent, and didn't know what way to turn, and turned the wrong way, made a bunch of stupid mistakes and errors. But I don't believe it's a mental health thing. I believe this is she was involved with two different guys and she was emotionally confused. And that is what the cause of all this is. Also today, we're finding out that this is just again a recap, more or less anything to just because there's been no. There, we're going to take a look at the press conference in just a moment from yesterday, but we're just going through a recap of what did happen since that press conference at the moment. I'm going to share an article. This is from AOL. And it's where I'm getting the information from about her, the lawyer saying that he's expecting to have charges pressed today, or for Carly to land up with charges. The headline says it all right from the start. Carly's attorney expects her to be charged over fake disappearance. This is about 4 hours ago that this was put out. So it's a most recent news story that I had found on the Carly Russell disappearance. And Mr. Anthony is saying it was a great meeting. It was a short meeting. We tried to identify some things about where we go from here. There are responsibilities that we need to take care of. Well, you've already admitted guilt with the letter. The responsibilities are what charges do they need to face and answer to now? Mr. Anthony's remarks come just one day after authorities confirmed that Miss Russell, 25, had admitted to lying about being kidnapped on the side of a highway after stopping to check on a toddler. The attorney did not elaborate on what motivated Miss Russell's fake story. If you listen to what the rumors have been, just a little interjection here, it has ever been everything about an emotional state of being. Apparently, she has had a track record of if she doesn't get what she wants when she wants, she threatens to go run away. Mr. Anthony added, I know you have a hundred questions, but we won't be able to answer them at this point in time. But just walk with us, and we should be through this shortly. So is he expecting them to charge her quickly and try to make this go away as quickly as possible? We heard that in the press conference. I'm just going to scroll through this a little bit here. We're going to hear that in the press conference, so I'm not going to worry about that at this moment. During an interview with police after she turned up at her parents' house on July 15th, Miss Russell alleged that she got out of her vehicle when she saw a barefoot toddler walking in a field next to the highway. A man with orange hair and a bald spot then came out of the trees and abducted her, she said. Remember, I'm not going to take the full credit for this, but we sat there and said from the day one that this did not make sense. Nothing this woman is saying, nothing that is being reported that she did say makes sense. Nothing made sense. Brooke Nicole, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out. Hello, Ziggy. How are you doing tonight? Just making sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Diane Solomon, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate you doing so. Miss Russell told the police that she heard a woman and a baby inside of the trailer of an 18-wheel semi before making a brief escape. She said she was then recaptured and taken to a house where the alleged captor supposedly forced her to take pictures while naked. And we'll hear about that in the press conference, or we heard about that in the press conference that originally came out when everybody coined that one gentleman, Mr. Lavender. I can't, again, folks, I'm not good with names, so please forgive me. There we go. Mr. Durzis had previously said on Monday that he reached out to Jefferson County District Attorney's Office about possible criminal charges. The Criminal Code Section 113A 10.9 of the Alabama Criminal Code says that making a false report to law enforcement knowingly is a Class A misdemeanor. Okay, so basically what this article is saying that if they do decide to press charges, she's going to get some misdemeanors. which would I either one way or the other is going to be a situation where that she deserves some accountability. She deserves accountability in what she did. Y'all have to forgive me for 1 second here. I'm going to try to find that press conference real quick. I know a lot of people have already put this out there, but I think that putting it out there and noticing a couple things that I had heard or I had what had stuck out to me, will be a good thing. Sorry about that, folks. Bear with me just a moment. Just realized that my computer was not on my headphones. It was on speakers. Okay, so this is agenda-free TV, what I'm going to play here. Just bear with me a second here. I actually watch him quite a bit for news information because his channel is exactly what he says it is. It's agenda free. He talks about politics, but he never gives his own political opinion. He talks about different situations, different news stories. But again, he will give his opinion, but he covers it right down the middle. He's that type of person. He's, in my opinion, he's really good at covering news stories. And if a creator, the reason I'm also going to him is that if a creator uses his content, all he ever asks is that you mention and give credit that it's his from his channel, and he doesn't strike people. So y'all have to forgive me. That's why I'm mentioning what I'm mentioning is that. This is from Agenda Free TV. It's a good Facebook channel.
Let me put it right here. Replay of press conference, so people know. Here we go. Are you ready? Let's listen again. This is what the police had to say just minutes ago. Sally M says, didn't expect this. It's not that long of a press conference. It's only probably about 7 minutes long or something.
For a few questions. Good afternoon. I'm Captain Keith Suscaleba with the Hoover Police Department. We're here today to provide an update in the Carly Russell investigation. Chief Nick Durzis will read a prepared statement that will provide an update in this case. After reading the statement, we will have time for a few questions related to the case. Keep in mind, this is still an ongoing investigation, and there are some questions we simply cannot answer at this point. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Durzis.
Thank you, Captain. Yes. Good afternoon. Thanks to everyone for attending again today. I want to thank the members of our department and all of law enforcement who played a role in the investigation of this case. Last Wednesday, July 19th, we held a press conference and provided you with the facts of the Carly Russell disappearance. We told you the investigation was ongoing. We helped you determine where Carly was within the 49 hours of her disappearance. Today, I've talked to and received a statement from Mr. Emery Anthony, attorney for Carly Russell. Mr. Anthony has scheduled a meeting for Carly to meet with investigators early this afternoon, but then I received an email stating that a statement was being provided by him on her behalf. Mr. Anthony asked that I read the statement in its entirety, which I will do now. My client has given me permission to to make the following statement on her behalf. There was no kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. My client did not have any help in this incident, but this was a single act done by herself. My client was not with anyone or any hotel with anyone during the time she was missing. My client apologizes for her actions to this community, the volunteers who were searching for her, to the Hoover Police Department and other agencies, as well as to her friends and family. We ask for your prayers for Carly as she addresses her issues and attempts to move forward, understanding that she made a mistake in this matter. Carly, again, ask for your forgiveness and prayers. We have a meeting scheduled with Mr. Anthony to further discuss this case. We're currently in discussions with the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office in Bessemer about possible criminal charges related to this case, and we will announce those charges when and if they are filed.
All right, with that, we'll take a few questions. As Officer Hale said, when I call on you, please state your name and your affiliation. Yes, sir.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610 100.1 FM.
Okay, so I cut off the questions because it was not a long news conference at all. I think the questions took longer than the actual what they wanted, information they wanted to release out to the press. You know, it's the fact that she, with a written statement through her lawyer, is now saying that what was originally reported in the news and what was said on the 911 call is not what happened. Hello, Sheba Mom. Thank you very much. And I did see what you were saying, Lorraine. Let me just back up a second here and take a look at that. I never heard of anybody doing a crime like this and be able to turn their self in when they wanted to or decide to talk whenever they wanted to. I feel like the law needs to go ahead and lock her up. Well, that's the thing that I stick with. And my personal opinion on that is, since there is a question of her mental health and whether or not she's stable or in a stable place, that giving her giving her what may have been, we need to sit down and talk to you by this time, by this date. Let's say it's that they need to sit down and talk to you by tomorrow, and the lawyer says, okay, we can. My schedule's clear for Tuesday, and my client's saying Tuesday is a good day to come in and talk. Let's set a time on Tuesday. They're allowing her that respect of saying, yes, I'm coming. I'm choosing to come in and talk to you about that on Tuesday. I don't feel that it was a situation where they're just saying, oh, come in whenever you want to talk, to turn yourself in and talk with us. But I feel like she probably had a deadline. Otherwise, they would have picked her up. But they went and said, yes, Tuesday's fine. Let's see here. How did Ziggy know what? Or am I missing something? I saw the question, how did Ziggy know? But I'm so agreeing with Ziggy. How did Ziggy know what? Right. John Q. Yeah, exactly. Emory Anthony Jr. is a criminal defense attorney. That says a lot of to his legal position in this case. Yeah, you're going to hear a lot from him from now on. You're not really going to hear from Carly anymore. There was a few of us, Teresa, that were calling out as being a hoax. We said from the get-go, this does not seem right. It does not feel right. It does not the eye test does not pass on this. However, you want to look at it, whether somebody can sit there and see the information or see details, and they can see it from the flip side as well. Teresa, I'm going to respectfully say that Ziggy has a secondary channel that she goes over information in a different manner sometimes. And I'm not plugging anybody's secondary channel when I mean, I've not even started my secondary channel, even though it exists for this. But you'd have to go and take a look at what she put out there and how she put that information out there. But Ziggy was not the only one that was from the get-go saying this is not right. This is a hoax. This is bad. Nope, this did not happen this way. What she did, exactly. There you go. Just by watching that video on the highway of her driving. She was going too fast for there to be a toddler out there. That's when I knew for fact. There you go. Yeah. Ziggy and I both, I'm going to say that Ziggy and I both said from the get-go, this was a hoax. There's no way. There's no way. Exactly. The estimated time, let's not forget. Okay, so to give you an example, okay, she pulled over on the highway, sat there for 3 minutes, and then when she was on the phone with 911, she drove 600 yards. Pen 1010, hello, how are you doing this evening? You're right. I think there's a couple people, quite a few people that were suspicious from the very get-go. But I don't think anybody came out like you and I said that there was no way that this had to be a hoax. That this had to be there was some information that this just doesn't make sense. It's not right. It's not there. When she was the only one reporting a toddler on the side of the interstate was enough for me to see it was a hoax. Renegade, that's a very good clue. You would think there would have been other people that would be reporting that. And Teresa, people do lure victims off the road. Look, I used to live in the Philadelphia metro area back in the 90s and early 2000s. When you want to talk about people luring people off the road, I can tell you stories of that. There was gangs that were in Camden, New Jersey, would send their people to go hang out at the rest stops on the New Jersey Turnpike. And any time that somebody would stop and look at the maps, to try to judge where they're going or where they're at or how far longer they have to go. That a gang member would try to help them out and give them directions that would put them in the middle of Camden, New Jersey, in their gang territory. They'd get robbed, carjacked, injured, or other things happen to them because they put them in one of the worst neighborhoods in the country, and they knew they were from outside of the area. So it was easier for them to get away with it. So you don't have to convince me about people getting kidnapped off of highways and being given bad directions or things like that happening. When I lived in the Philadelphia metro area, if you were going to somewhere and you got lost, this was driver's education. This was driver's education. Okay. If you're from the suburbs, if you're from Philadelphia, even, they tell you two things: find a cop, put your four ways on, and run the stop sign or red light in front of the cop. Make him pull you over because the cops in Camden are going to give you directions and make sure you get to the safe area, and they're not going to end up giving you a ticket. It was a signal to them to pull you over and find out what's going on. That was in the 90s and early 2000s. I know that Camden has changed quite a bit since then. But that's how you were taught to drive. If you got lost in Camden, you don't stop. You find a cop and you run a stop sign or red light, and with your four ways on in front of them, and they know. So I completely understand about a person getting disappearing from the highway, or getting bad directions to go to a bad neighborhood, or even other things happening. It was in the newspapers all the time. Hair curlers and crime, thank you very much for coming out. Ziggy, thank you very much for noticing that. I appreciate that. Barbie's 2 bits, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate that. Country Girl, you're right. She made this whole story up. It does happen for real. And that's why everyone is upset with her. You're right. I would say this easily costed Hoover, Alabama, $30,000 a day. Easily cost them $30,000 a day. So it went for 2 days of her searching. Denelin 2, the legendary. That is what I believe made this story go national so quick as it did. Is that you had the incidents where you have a child that is sitting there playing on the side of a highway. And we're not talking like a county road highway where it's somebody's front yard. We're talking like they dug out a ditch. They excavated ground around the highway to prevent cars from going off the highway into somebody's backyard or into their home, type of deal. This was an interstate. Hair curlers and crime. That was a thought that was running around for a while, and I actually had said it was one of the possibility that was why she was staying in a hotel. But part of the press conference yesterday, the statement from the lawyer from yesterday, there was no stay at the. There was no stay at a hotel. At least that's what the lawyer had, or part of the statement was, that nobody was staying at the Red Roof Inn. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a pause here for a moment and say thank you very much, 1,000 times over. Even though I've hit the 1,000 member mark, I've said from day one, even if I do have the opportunity to become monetized, I will never, ever hit that monetize button. It's a personal choice. I don't have an issue with anybody that does hit that monetize button. But I want to thank you for liking the content that I'm putting out there and the conversations that we have and hopefully have been sparked by my channel. And I look forward to many, many more times going live and trying to start a conversation and have that conversation that might be uncomfortable, but needs to be had when it comes to covering a true crime story. Thank you, everybody. I do appreciate that. Little Shawnee, Kentucky, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate it. Sweet Home, Alabama, if I didn't say hello to you before, I appreciate you being here as well. Blank, I think I missed you coming in, so hello to you as well. Right, John Q, exactly. You're exactly right. We may find out tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow. That what the charges are. And Blank, you were actually getting ahead of a question, a statement something I was going to say. No, we don't necessarily just have the charges for the 911 false report. Her calling 911 saying there's a child and then disappearing and all that extent of it. The 911 call by itself for a prank is a misdemeanor. That's could potentially be a whole separate charge. That could potentially be a whole separate charge that she has to face and answer to. Because she did call 911. So what I was saying in the press conference, or what I was going to say the pointed out in the press conference was that the lawyer wrote the statement. So when you hear the phrase like that, a lawyer is writing a statement, we know this woman is an educated woman. She was attending UAB in a nursing program. But in this situation, for herself, no matter how much education you have, if you find yourself in this kind of position, it's better to convey sorrow, to ask for forgiveness, and to admit to what the truth is. But it's best for your lawyer to actually put those words out there. Because they're going to try to minimize, especially with this being a criminal lawyer, they're going to try to minimize the damage, to minimize the charges as best they can from that statement, and then work further with the police and the DA to help try to reduce those more. But don't think she's not going to just go scot-free and not face any charges in this. Yeah. Yeah. If it was just her being stupid, and ladies, please forgive me the way I'm phrasing this, being stupid and allowing her emotions to overrun the situation. And I'm not saying any guy is better off. I'm not saying all guys would react the same thing, but there are many guys, many men that would react the same way, potentially. But the fact that she used a child in the 911 call and it became a game to her, I agree with you. That is a big problem. That is a big problem. These misdemeanors that she's facing, it's going to ruin her career. It's going to ruin what she's going to was going to UAB for. Okay. Brooke Nicole, that's actually an excellent point. From the information I have seen and the information I understand, the FBI and the Secret Service, and this has been since Summer Wells, anytime there's a case that they believe there's human trafficking possibly involved, everybody's heard FBI car team and things like that. Just keep those in mind. I'm going to bring them up in a moment. That now, after Summer Wells went missing, they changed the protocol. It once was that if a child went missing, the FBI would get involved, the FBI car team would get involved. And if the FBI car team made a determination that this was an instance where there was human trafficking involved, especially with a minor, then the Secret Service was involved, and the president was made aware. However, they've changed that around. Secret Services and FBI is now involved, and while the car team is making their assessment, they're assisting with a missing person case. Once the car team makes their determination of whether or not this is human trafficking or not, will then hinge whether or not the Secret Service stays involved, or Secret Service backs off and allows the FBI and the states to work this out. So there was a change in that. So the idea that the Secret Service was involved and involved from the get-go is not shocking to me. And, you know, they say there's a thing as too many cooks in the kitchen. But when it comes to a missing person, they have this so finely tuned that there aren't too many cooks in the kitchen. Even though like the Secret Service would be above the FBI is in charge. They're there to assist the FBI and keep the president informed if it is believed to be human trafficking or an international issue where the person was kidnapped for international reasons. That is why the Secret Service is involved. Forgive me, folks. I'm going back and reading the chat here just a little bit. Make sure there's not any questions missed. If there's another creator here and they have an answer to a question that I missed at any point in time and they want to answer that question, that's not a problem to me. So, like I have highlighted right now, I think is Ziggy answering a question. So I don't see the question, but yes, Miss Summer Moon, Utah Wells. "49 months and 10 days. And we still don't know what happened. We still don't know what thank you, Ziggy. Thank you. I believe she will. I'll come back to Summer Moon, Utah Wells in a moment here. I believe she will. I think this is going to be not only did she lose her job, which from what I have researched, this is actually a really good job for the Hoover Bessemer area. She actually had a really good job going, working as a concierge at the spa, the day spa. Hello, Juju. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate you being here. And she went and blew that by stealing $107 from the register. Now, could she have been intending to buy a ticket to go and try to disappear to Nashville, as the original press conference had said? There was looking for bus ticket prices, which, from my experience of searching around on Greyhound, looking information up, from Birmingham, Alabama, to get to Nashville only costs between $58 and $65 on average. I saw a couple days were up to 70, but most days stuck to between $58 and $65. She really had squandered quite a bit of good opportunities. And it's going to have an effect on her for the rest of her life, no matter what they decide to do charges wise. This is going to carry with her for the rest of her life. Because if she wasn't doing well in UAB for whatever circumstances was, she could have taken a semester off, taken a year off, and then gone back to another university or even UAB and gone on with becoming a nurse. Hello, Nani. Thank you very much. But this is not that situation any longer. This now has criminal potential of criminal criminal activity, and I, for one, can tell you, my 9 to 5 involves healthcare. There is no tolerance for any sort of fraudulent situations. That's the one thing that will mess you up more than anything else. Committing an act of fraud. And you're done in healthcare. Honestly, Ziggy, you say that, and that is probably a reality. I don't know about her dad being a CEO of some company, but I know her mom is a realtor. Realtors make some pretty decent money, if not close to six figures, over six figures. But honestly, I hope they don't. It's a situation where tough love is the answer, is the right answer. She's got to dig herself out of her own hole. There you go. John Q had the answer. Carly's dad is a VP of a bank in Birmingham. Just goes to show to trust no one. Blank, you're right. It takes a long time to get to know to trust somebody. It takes a very long time to get to know and trust someone. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. Nani, that's what I fear, is that their parents will go ahead and pay and dig her way out. I started mentioning Summer Wells a few moments ago and kind of got back to talking about Carly for a moment there. Summer Moon Utah Wells has been missing for 49 months, 10 days. The saga, the drama story that her parents want to make this out to be, has its own little new twists and turns. And talking about Summer Wells tonight, we're coming back to the saying that I almost say almost every single live. Be careful who you listen to. I have 4 creators sitting in my chat room tonight. 5 creators. Sorry, I keep forgetting that Lorraine has a channel. Who, above all else, they have their own. Everybody has their own unique style of presenting. Some of us have shared more than others, or in one way or another, we share the way we like to present a story differently, or some variation of each other. It's a story tonight with Summer Wells of be careful who you listen to. John Q has said he really doesn't have he doesn't do he only goes lives once or twice a week. Just like myself, I go 2 or 3 times a week when I have something to bring. But we had this past week happening over what somebody said in a chat and associated with what Candace had said. When it clearly was not Candace saying that in the chat room, for somebody to fly off the edge and go call 911 over something they didn't even know what was happening or understand what's happening, and say that creator was putting themselves in a bad situation because they refused to call TBI, but has the audacity to be hypocritical of themselves by making that same statement when they sat on information for over 4 days about Summer being alive and in a different state. Right. Not 911, called the TBI. Juju, I didn't bring this one to you because I didn't feel it was right to the get-go. And as time gone on, I found out this to be a bad story, bad intel, bad information. So I never had an opportunity to mention it to you. You'll have to forgive Juju. She's still fairly new at knowing about Summer Wells and what happened with Summer Wells. No offense, Juju, of course. We're back to the statement of be careful who you listen to. I haven't said it in a while. But you have people that are out there saying that they know so much about Summer Wells and they started the community about Summer Wells. No. That is no adult started the community on Summer Wells. Summer Wells missing at 5 years old is what started the community of talking about Summer Wells. Juju, I know you are. I know you are. I'm making a general statement about this before I go into any detail about this. Because there is a lot of confusion. A lot of confusion. Forgive me for 1 second here. I'm trying to actually get something zoomed in on a little bit so you guys can see it. This is a screen grab of what started the whole entire spark of what I mentioned, what I'm talking about right now. Forgive me, guys. I probably am going to have to try to zoom on this a little bit better. Try to make sure it stays in the middle of the screen here for you guys. This is a screen grab that I was given. And what sparked this whole entire story of why the TBI was called and said somebody was that Candace had said this. I wish I could spend more time with my daughter now, but I can't because she is in heaven now. Please spend time with your children and family. That's what sparked this whole entire thing. That statement right there. It was somebody said that in a chat, not on a live, We don't know who that person is. But somehow it came out to be said that that was Candace that said that. Right. And I'm not blaming Justin because I don't believe that Justin actually, I don't believe this was from Justin's chat. I believe it was from another creator. I believe they were talking about it and somehow got twisted around to being, and I don't know who did what, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not getting in the middle of that. I'm simply saying, be careful of who you listen to because somebody said that Candace said that. I go back to when I say that, see a reaction, see this statement. I go all the way back to the beginning of the interviews when Don and Candace sat down with WJHL. It was in beach chairs, lounge chairs, their vinyl chairs, metal frame chairs on the side of the house. And Don was making the statement of, we don't know what happened to her, and for all we know, she could be in heaven, and we don't know if she's ever going to come back. Is that look that Candace gave him? That the hell you talking about? We want her back. She's coming back. Why are you telling them this when we know what really happened? You can't be saying this. It was that look, that kind of look. It was an unbelievable look, a moment. That if Candace had actually consciously said this at this point in time, that they would have been slapping silver bracelets on her quicker than you could say alakazoo, whatever it is that the great Gizmo from Fred Flintstones would say when he appeared on their car or would appear all of a sudden pop up and appear faster than you could say that with that phrase that they said. They'd be putting silver bracelets on her and hauling her, not giving her the option to go and sit in an interrogation room. Yep. Ziggy, exactly. That was the look. You know, that look that she gave him actually has been seen many times with many stories about missing people or missing kids. Usually the person that ends up getting arrested, and I'm not drawing any judgment on Don Wells when I say this. Usually the person that makes that statement is the one that lands up getting arrested. The person that gives them that crazy, what the hell are you talking about? That makes absolutely no sense. Moment is the person that they're looking at, the person that usually gets arrested. Hello, no, nope. Thank you very much for coming out. I can't help but to think back to that when I heard this statement, because if she did say that, oh boy. Oh boy. When I found out that about 1-2 o'clock in the morning, I asked my mods, Did you catch what was really said? Did you hear what was said? Because I hadn't heard it personally myself. By morning, it was realized that it was somebody in the chat room that had said it. I still suspect that parents know more than what they tell the police. What they say on social media and have been told to shut up, or, in my opinion, been told to shut up or spend more time behind bars. I do appreciate that. No, nope. Is that, the whole circumstances is that they know more information than they tell. That has always been my opinion of this. They know more than they themselves are covering up for something. Summer deserves to have justice. The community that the 5-year-old missing girl had started deserves to have closure. This is beyond her parents. This is beyond anybody in Kingsport, Hawkins County, anybody in Rogersville having the closure. This is the national story, the national community that has been fighting more for Summer than her own parents ever did, deserves to have closure. Started off by saying, we're talking about Summer, we're saying, be careful who you listen to. I've said this for a while about be careful who you listen to. My channel is branch. I try to keep branching out, finding more stories, whether the true crime community is talking about it or it's a story that nobody's talking about, and I believe deserves to have time, deserves to have people listen to and hear what the story is. I was this way leading up to the 1-year anniversary. I started to go this way when it led up to the 2-year anniversary. And this is no offense to any other creator. If you're only interested in hearing about Summer Wells and the facts and the details about Summer Wells, you do so. You tell the creator that you want to hear more about Summer Wells with your viewership. The moment a creator starts going off on a random tale, and this, again, no offense to any other creator that's here, if you don't want to hear about that, change who you're listening to. Like I said, I have 5 creators in here tonight that I think do an absolutely amazing job covering true crime stories and following what happens with missing kids and presenting their perspective. Because that's all we can do. We can all sit there and look at the facts, and we're going to present our perspective of the way we see those facts lining up. Yeah. Every state has more than you would expect, Brittany. Every state. I know that a lot of my content is based on just Summer Wells. And I probably just stepped on some toes by saying that it's about what other creators' content and whatnot. But at the same time, I've enjoyed listening to the creators that I have had here tonight, them talk about and participating in their chats and talking about Summer Wells. It's important. Summer Wells deserves the justice. A child, just like Michael Vaughn, Summer Wells should have never gone to the point where she was missing for 2 years. Thank you, Ziggy. And that's exactly what I try to do. Give the perspective of a local. You know, I always say, some of you will understand this comment. There's a running joke, sort of, about meeting a creator on Bays Mountain, which is in the center. For those who don't know, that's almost literally the center of Kingsport, Bays Mountain. And I keep telling people there's nothing to worry about Bays Mountain except for an occasional black bear. Not far from where I live. You all know I live in Hawkins County, so that's not going to be a surprise. Not far from where I live, there's a elementary school, and a black bear, mama black bear, and cubs have been spotted. They're expanding. They're getting off of Bays Mountain. They're going to go find somewhere else to live. Hello, Betty Smith. Thank you very much for coming out. No, Philadelphia is not scary. Philadelphia is actually, in most neighborhoods, is okay. It's back in the 90s and early 2000s, Camden was a problem. But anyway, getting back to talking about Bays Mountain for a moment. Where I live, there's a good community, and if something's going on with the neighbor, the next block over, not that people will gossip, but if it's something criminal or something like that, word travels fast, and they tell you to watch out, type of deal. Butterfly Kisses, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate you being here. Well, earlier this week, Mama Bear was crossing a highway, numbered road, and was hit by a car. And where I live, my backyard, the outside of where I live is not very far from a wooded area. This is why I say the worst thing you have to watch out for in my area is crossing a path with a black bear. I was taking trash out probably Friday night last week. And running through my neighborhood, I'm sorry, I could actually could hear in the woods, in the wooded area, there was a black bear a cub calling, looking for its mama. So when I say that the worst thing you literally have to worry about, and I mean, honestly, the worst thing you have to worry about is crossing paths with a black bear. After I had heard it out in the woods, and the night after is when I actually had to take the trash out, and I did cross paths with the black bear. But it's one of those deals. You live in this area, you know how to react. You just hold your ground. You just be still. Let them choose the path that they're going to go, and they're not going to bother you. Because when they're walking around on all fours, you're taller than they are. And even if they're not going to try to stand up because they already fear that you more. They fear you more than they have to fear that you have to fear them, because they're going to walk a path that takes them away from you. Yep, Kim. That does happen occasionally here. Up on Base Mountain right now, there is a walking trail that's closed because of a mama black bear and a cub. People were walking on the path, and the mama black bear didn't like how close they were getting to be where the cubs were, and they started. The mama bear got a little bit aggressive towards them. Didn't attack them, just a little aggressive, saying, "This is my territory," type of deal. Up on Bays Mountain, there's also campgrounds where you have cabins. You also have areas for people to put up tents. And sometimes people will be careless with how they store food. And they will actually be going after the food and enter a tent or enter into a cabin as well. But again, it's the campers' fault. They were careless with how they were storing food. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think I got off on that with talking about Summer Wells was because it was relevant that at one point so many people were saying that, oh, they think a wild animal would have taken Summer. The bears don't want anything to do with the people. They might live up on the mountain, and then when they travel off the mountain, they don't want anything to do with anybody. They want to get out of city. That's all they're trying to do, is they're trying to get out of the city. Right, Miss Justice. It was somebody had said that, and while it was possible, it was very highly unlikely. Exactly, Ziggy. We've taken over their habitat, and that now that we have, they're trying to get out of the city, and they have to go through the city to get there. I remember when I lived down in Gray a few years back. Gray's just outside of Johnson City. That there was a running joke about the Johnson City bear. The same story had happened. They were building in a new area where where the bears had lived, and they were going through the city to get to another area where they could possibly live. And they were going through trash cans to find food. I think apologize. I was looking at cicadas for a second there. I think that I still have hope that we're going to find out soon what happened to Summer. I still hold out hope that we're going to find out what happened to Summer very soon. I'll be the first person to say that I believe that this is going to have to go through, if anybody's going to land up to be in charge, it is going to go through a grand jury. Yep, Pen 1010, absolutely. Yep, they'll reach up and grab those apples and munch on them as quick as can be. Hello, Trev Time. Thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate that. I still hold hope that we're going to find out what happened to Summer very, very soon. I hope that this is not one of those situations where you find out 20 years later what happened. I don't want it to be 20 years later. My apologies, everybody. I was getting a drink of ice water. I didn't want to be clanking around ice on you all. The statement that Hawkins County Sheriff's Department still does not set with me right, that they hope to have release information soon. It's the last statement that we heard from Hawkins County Sheriff's Department about Summer Wells. Trev, you're good. Don't worry about it. Blow it up. I believe Summer Wells. I do believe there is information about Summer Wells going to be coming out very soon. I don't think it's going to be coming through Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, though. For as much as Hawkins County has appeared to have told the Wells to shut up, stay off of YouTube, or we're going to put you in jail. Not the threat of you're going to face jail, possibly face jail time. This has gone to the point where they're saying you're going to go to jail over the not breaking the gag order, over talking about things you should not be talking about. And it's exactly why you don't hear from Don Wells anymore. They've all caught on to what we've been saying, what we've been talking about them admitting and bragging about certain things that they've done while they were in Arkansas. How quick it was for them to make connections while they're not under the scrutiny and watch of law enforcement like they are here in Tennessee. This part of the gag order where they're saying either you comply or you're going to land up in jail, and that's my impression of what has been told to them, isn't just about the boys. I have been saying for a while that we're up against the 2-year mark for the boys. Tennessee does not want to have children in their custody 2 years without them being declared wards of the state. We're at that point with the boys. Yes. Trev Time, you're exactly right. TBI has all but stopped asking for any sort of information about what happened this summer. They still stand behind the press conference, but the press release, that flyer that they had put out. But they aren't. Oh, it is definitely moving along. Trevor, I said earlier that I believe that they have known from day one what happened this summer. If nobody has heard, and I can't remember when exactly this interview was or when it was aired, I'll put it that way, but the lab a couple months ago he talked about a conversation that he had with Don Wells where he got Don Wells to admit to what the TBI was asking them. And Don Wells said that they asked if they pinpointed everything to be an accident that was covered up. And for everybody that has listened to me since I started my channel and even before when I've commented on Summer Wells, I've pinpointed a moment in time that troubled me the most about everything they did that day. And in summary of what that moment was, it fits in perfectly with what the TBI had said, that there was an accident they had covered up. No matter the path leading up to that accident, the moment that accident happened or what happened afterwards, it's still the point that there was an accident that happened. And was covered up. People for the longest time, and I'm not pinpointing anybody in the audience. If you were there when I said this a couple times, don't feel like I'm pinpointing you or saying you specifically. I used to refer to this as being that there was a plan that the parents had for summer, but the accident had changed everything. I forget how I used to phrase it right this second, but it was something along the lines of it was um, a happy accident where the parents had something far more nefarious planned. And then, yes, the store, the priceless parking lot is where I pinpointed where everything changed. Where being in that vehicle at 83-degree hot day and that vehicle reaching up to 115, if I believe it is off the top of my head, it interfered with what the parents had planned and changed what was going to happen. The reason I called it a happy accident is because I believe that there was going to be some sort of trafficking involved with Summer. Whether or not she was being sold or she was being other forms of trafficking, I have no idea, to be exactly honest. But I believe that there was some form of trafficking going to be involved. And being her getting deathly ill from what happened, them sitting in the parking lot at Priceless was far less. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm being blunt tonight. It was far less troublesome than what the parents had planned. Thank you, Carrie, for putting that up. Content and discussion is opinionated and alleged. I know, Natalie for Life, it's heartbreaking, and it's horrible to think about. But in my mind, it's what makes the most sense. I'm going to take a real quick 2-minute break. I apologize. I need to take a break, and I will be right back, folks. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just muting myself for a moment. Actually, you know what? I mentioned earlier we're going to watch actually, we already watched that. I'm trying to think of what else I can do. Never mind. Apologies, guys. I'm going to be 2 minutes. I will be back. Talk amongst yourselves. Please don't go anywhere because we are going to get into a case that some of us may not have heard of in just a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your patience with me. I apologize. You know what they say about, if you haven't heard, but there's a saying about guys turning 40 or turning older than 40. They start to have certain issues. Well, those issues didn't hit me till I started turning 45. So every once in a while, just the got to stop and take a break for a moment type of deal. Unfortunately, but I'm going to be wrapping up, kind of, sort of. Of course, have a few moments of open time, so if anybody wants to join me, type of deal. If you haven't heard, another major story that's going on, amongst others, in the news right now is Rex Heuermann. And he's being called the Long Island serial killer. Some people may know what that means more than anything else. No, Huntress, that's not what I had to do. That's not the issue that happens when men turn turn into their 40s. Yes, Trip Time, LISK, Long Island serial killer. So, what originally started out as being 4 victims, if not heard, is now up to 9 victims. And one of the 9 victims is a toddler. They're now even searching property in South Carolina for human remains. This guy is majorly sick, psycho sick. Whatever the correct terminology for his psychosis, for whatever happened, is wow. This all started off, and apparently happened with him not appreciating being alone while his wife went on a vacation that he was unable to attend to or be with her at. True crime and other stuff. Thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you doing so. There's an element of human trafficking that I always sit there and go, that this person did this action for money, for whatever the reason was. And it always makes me wonder the why. And we have the why. More times than not, the why is that a woman is raising a child, having to raise a child with no support system, no ability to support or have money of any kind, whether they got laid off, a business. I don't blame the woman. I never, ever have ever blamed the woman for making a choice that she must truly hate herself for. I can't imagine, and I would believe that quite a bit of people could never imagine either. To have to go to that level of existence, that is your only source of income, the only way to get money to support your child or to support your being able to have an income, to be able to support yourself to live. No, true crime, it's not. Not at all. You know, the last live I was on, I said that, you know, my channel, we stand beside somebody that's going through recovery, whether it's they're getting out of a DV situation or they're putting themselves through a recovery program from drugs, drinking, whatever the situation may be. No judgment is ever passed by myself or this channel. We're going to be the person that if somebody comes to us and says that they're in this circumstances, we're going to be the first person to say, we stand beside you. You can do this. It's one step at a time, and it takes tons of courage to do. And we're going to help them in that type of situation. Lady May, thank you very much. It's not for applause and gratification that I do that. It's because of my personal upbringing. Can't imagine what any one of these women that went through their mind that somebody was going to make them meet their demise. It's one of those situations where I believe they need to just lock him up and throw away the key and forget they ever had a key. Well, I take that as a compliment, Lady May, because the creators that I've mentioned, the five of them, I know that they feel the same way. Don't even have to ask them. I know they feel the same way. Hello, BB Diamond. Thank you very much for coming out. And I know there's the people that support their channels and join me on my lives as well. I know that they feel the same way. So I may be saying what is an obvious statement, but it's a statement that has to be made. Okay. Okay, Lady May. All right, no worries. I wasn't pinpointing anybody. I'm not pointing anybody out. I'm just saying, you know, using what you are saying, but and to say what is how I feel about it. What is the situation? This Rex Huerman case, I actually believe there is going to be more victims heard of yet. I don't think that 9 is going to be the end. I don't think 9 is going to be the end. I believe this count from this guy, and he got into a pattern and lost control and couldn't control what he was doing any longer. That his wife was not satisfying him any longer. I think there's going to be more. And we don't know the full story of what happened yet. I remember years ago, like I said, I lived in the Philadelphia metro area growing up. A similar story was happening just outside of Atlantic City. It was either Atlantic City or it was like Absecon, New Jersey, somewhere in that area. Where women that were forced into doing what they had to do to support themselves or their children were being executed. But I never remember a story like this where it possibly involved multiple states. Lori P., then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was either in Atlantic City or Absecon, New Jersey, which is just outside of Atlantic City. They found the person that did it. I don't remember what happened to the person that did it. But this story, with it having possible another location in South Carolina, that he could have been doing the same thing. Yeah. So that's the thing about this whole entire situation. Is how many times did he give her a piece of jewelry that was one of the victims? Or held on to a reminder, a locket of hair, this, that, or the other, whatever it could have been. That essentially made his own wife his victim as well. It's just a story, a point of view that I hadn't heard anybody talk about with this. I know that all the details are still coming out on Rex Huerman and what actually happened to these women and the toddler. something I'll be keeping a close eye on, because I don't think we found out the end on this. Like I said, I wasn't doing a whole huge thing on this tonight. I didn't have a whole huge thing on this tonight for Rex Human. I've seen it going around YouTube, and I wanted to throw a little bit of something out there that I thought and hadn't heard anywhere else. Is that, yes, one of the women that he had slept with and made them meet their demise was the mom of the toddler. That's actually an excellent question, Baby Diamond. Thank you. Yes. I had seen a map earlier and I couldn't find it while I was away for a couple moments, where they had mapped out where each person had been found so far. But the toddler was found right next to where the mom was. No, there was actually a woman found right next to where the toddler was. So true crime might be right here, but I didn't. I know that there was a woman found right next to where the toddler was. Yep, there was an Asian male as a victim as well. There you go. Thank you, No Note, for knowing that. We're going to be keeping an eye on the story. Is the reason I wanted to mention that, and going to cover it as delicately as possible. If it gets too much of a situation where it can't be covered, I will put out a pre-record on it and take no questions on it, but just do a pre-record giving an update or giving the full story as we know it up to that point, and say that it let you guys know that I'm not going to be covering that any longer because it's the circumstance, because very delicately cover the circumstances why. Ziggy, it's not a populated area of Long Island. It's actually one road area. It's that up that way. New York and New Jersey has a lot of sandbar islands, and this it looks like to me it was one of the sandbar islands that was enough to support a road and a series of houses on one side and a series of houses on the other side of the road. So you had some isolation going on where that people were that he could sneak around at night. But there was isolation involved in the areas that he was dumping bodies. As Carrie has been putting in the chat all night, it's been my throughout the night, my email address. And if Miss Justice was here earlier and had put my email address, thank you very much to her as well. But anybody's welcome to send me an email. I do have an email set up just for YouTube information. If you know of a story that is ongoing and you'd like to see me cover it, always feel free to send me an email. Give me a tip or a link to the story, and I'd be more than happy to. I do have a regular 9 to 5 job. So there are some stories and some information I can never go into, as it might be too closely related to my 9 to 5 job. But if I can cover it, I will definitely do so. Yeah, true crime and other stuff. He has it exactly right. Yeah, he actually did research culture, history, and they have all that information now. This is going to get the story is far from being over. It's been breaking since I'm going to say what 11, 12 days ago now. But there every couple days there's more information coming out. His wife, honestly, his wife is in complete shell shock. It's why you're not hearing from his wife any. She is in complete shell shock that that happened. So if anything, I would be praying for his wife. If you're a person that believes in prayer, positive energy, positive thought, whichever it is that you believe in, keep his wife in your mind. She's going through one heck of a case, one heck of a situation that she never dreamed or imagined was possible. Right. Well, it's his wife nonetheless, current wife. Well, here's the problem with that. You start doing that, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. True crime and other stuff. You start doing that, you start getting into, you start running it down the road of George Orwell, 1984. You also start running into, what's that movie? Bruce, I think it was Bruce Willis did it. Um, they were supposed to be in some foreign futuristic colony, dystopian colony. I can't remember the name of the movie, but you start running the scenarios like that if you start arresting people for their thoughts or search history or things like that. You can't do that, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, because some of the times that when you research the information on these types of situations, it can be just as bad as you looking it up themselves. But that would be the same thing as arresting for somebody for their thoughts, and you can't do that. Bruce Willis movie? No, not Minority Report. This was oh my goodness. The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element is the movie I'm thinking of, where he was a taxi cab driver. I watched it. Okay, Lorray has said no worries, Carrie. No worries, no worries. I watched 60 Minutes or Forensic Files where a man did this in New York years ago, and he would bury them 3 at a time. Mm. No, I haven't seen that movie. I'll be honest, a lot of music that has come out since, I want to say, 2010, movies that have come out since 2010, I honestly can say I've not paid attention to them because I haven't felt they were worth anything to pay attention to. But anyway, I said I was going to open this up for a little bit of time for anybody who wanted to jump up and talk and join me. It is unbelievably hot tonight, so I did not plan on talking this long tonight. And bear with me just a moment. Can't complain too much. Northeast Tennessee, and we're going to be hitting a heat wave for the first time this summer in the next few days. So I really can't complain too much about the heat. And then when I go on vacation from my 9 to 5, it's actually going to be cooler. Or cool as it has been the past couple weeks. So count myself pretty lucky there. So again, I've gone ahead and pinned it at the top. If anybody wants to jump up and join me, has a comment, they just don't feel like typing, this is your time to go ahead and join me and talk. Hello, Pug Mom. Thank you very much. Amber Spradlin. Is that Amber Spradlin? They found her. They found Amblin Spradlin. No, you're not blocked. Nobody blocks. No, nobody gets. Only one person has gotten blocked on my channel, and you're not that person. I agree with you 100%. That is definitely a situation that somebody should be arrested for. Pug Mom, she was found. Amber Spradlin was found. it's not been a solved crime, but she was found. Unfortunately, that's the problem with the dark web, though. True crime and other stuff is, even though FBI does investigate what happens, and they can search into that kind of thing. They still have to have the dreaded the legal standard of probable cause. It's not something that they just can go randomly searching for and not have a cause of being looking. Okay. Well, I have their names down now, and I will look into that in the next couple days. And I'll be more than happy to talk about them, cover them. Also from Kentucky, right? Oh, wow. This woman was also found. Okay. Well, I will definitely look into them. I'm not one of those creators that say that because they don't believe the story doesn't have the clicks or the views. I believe that if a story has merit to and needs attention, I'll be more than happy to talk about it. So be looking forward to a story on that. It might be like kind of like what I did tonight with I had covered like 4 different stories or a few different stories in one night. If there, it might not be the big story I'm talking about, but I'll definitely talk about it. BB Diamond, there's a rather coarse. That's not exactly the right. Crass is more like it. Phrase that a lot of people will say, and it has everything to do with either that they're having a boy or a girl as a kid. And the saying is, like I said, apologies everybody. This is a little bit of a crass saying. when you have a boy, it's easier to have a boy than it is to have a girl, because with a boy, you only have to worry about what his dippy do does. When you have a girl, it's more difficult because you have to worry about what every other dippy do does. If you read between the lines, you understand what I'm meaning. So, that's a consideration for what you're saying. It's different when you have your own child, your own boy. Exactly. BB Diamond is exactly what I was saying in a different wording. Yep, Dippy Doo does. Oh, I definitely cover them Pen 1010. Don't worry about that. Like I said, it may not be. Let me dig into it for a couple days and let me find out what I can find. It may not be. It may be like what I did tonight, where I didn't feel like I had a full talk about one story, and I threw several different stories in here. But I'll cover them. All right, guys. It is 11:15 my time. You're gonna have to forgive me. We had a thunderstorm this afternoon, and it only made it hotter and more humid than it was before the thunderstorm. I'm going to call it a night so I can go get a nice cool shower and cool off. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's 11:15. Do you know where your kids are? If you do, please give them an extra hug and a kiss. Make sure they know that you appreciate them. Even if you have to send them a text message, do so, because you never know, the reaching out to them can make all the difference. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening. And absolutely. Thank you. So I hope everybody have a wonderful rest of the evening. Sorry, comments are catching my attention before I go ahead and sign out here. So anyway, my name is RJ. RJ, you have been listening to the Conversations Living Room. Thank you very much for being here. Replay crew, if you do catch me on replay, I do appreciate you taking the time to listen tonight. Hope you have a wonderful evening. I'm out. Good night.